Hey guys, so in this video we will be discussing a very important topic, a topic that just does not get the attention it deserves. We will be discussing China's occupation of Tibet. So let's start by getting to know Tibet a little bit and then we will discuss why China attacked Tibet in the 1950s. Tibet, the highest region on earth. Tibet is a region on the Tibetan Plateau in Asia, spanning about 2.4 million square kilometers. That is nearly a quarter of China's territory. It is the traditional homeland of the Tibetan people as well as some other ethnic groups. But unfortunately, this beautiful land has been occupied and ruled by China since 1951. Let's find out about it a bit more. Now over here you can see the exact location of Tibet. It lies on the northeastern side of India. And as you can pretty much see over here, it's a big piece of land. And as I mentioned, it constitutes 1/4 of China's total land. I will also show you a different map that will explain the population density of that region. October 1st, 1949. Chairman Mao declared that China would now be known as the People's Republic of China because the Communist Party of China was now ruling this ancient country. According to historians, Mao had plans to invade Tibet the moment he came to power. According to Mao, capturing Tibet would make the people of China more confident in their new government. People would feel that their country is in the right hands. Mao wanted to revive China's imperial ambitions. He had absolutely no regard for the fact that Tibet had been an independent nation for centuries, and the 13th Dalai Lama famously issued a proclamation reaffirming Tibet's independence. We are a small, religious and independent nation. The country had its own national flag, currency, stamps, passport, and an army. It also signed international treaties and maintained diplomatic relations with neighboring countries, but Chairman Mao had made up his mind and attacked Tibet in 1950. The first part of Mao's plan to capture Tibet was to attack it and immediately spread Chinese propaganda everywhere that China is not invading Tibet for its imperial ambitions, rather it is saving Tibet from Western imperialism. It was a shameless excuse and even today many Chinese still believe in it. Chinese propaganda projected the barbaric invasion of Tibet as a liberation effort. According to the 14th Dalai Lama, who now lives in India, the People's Liberation Army slaughtered 8,000 Tibetan soldiers before moving forward. The world watched in silence as China continued to swallow an entire nation while spreading false propaganda. And as you can see over here, this is a footage of the Chinese propaganda. You can see how blatantly shameless it is. They are projecting as if the Tibetans were very happy that the Chinese are invading them, whereas the reality was the opposite. Now let's have a look at the timeline. In 1935, the man who later on became the 14th Dalai Lama, who now lives in India of course, was born in a small village in Tibet. In 1949, Mao Zedong proclaimed the founding of People's Republic of China. In 1950, Dalai Lama turned 15 years old and he was made the head of the Tibetan state. In 1951, Tibetan leaders were forced to sign a treaty dictated by China. The treaty was known as the 17-Point Agreement. See, the People's Liberation Army had invaded at least half of the Tibetan land and then they stopped and they presented an option to the Tibetan leaders that signed the 17-Point Agreement, and within this agreement we will give a certain part of Tibet autonomy and that will be known as the Tibetan Autonomous Region. Under pressure, the Tibetan leaders had to accept this offer. They didn't have a lot of options. After signing the 17-point agreement, the Tibetan leaders thought that now the Chinese will let them live their way of life, they will let them practice their religion, but they were wrong, they were very wrong. You see, the Chinese government, they promoted atheism, and they were not really in favor of the Tibetan way of life. They wanted to change them. They wanted to make sure that they change them culturally and they change their way of life. And because of this, and because of other things as well, because of the army presence in that region, resentment started to mount in the hearts of the Tibetan people. And in 1959, there was a full-scale uprising that broke out in Lhasa. Tens and thousands of people died when Chinese brutally suppressed their resistance. The 14th Dalai Lama and the most of his ministers fled to India. Some 80,000 Tibetans followed him. India houses more than 150,000 Tibetan refugees to this day. In 1965, the Chinese government established the Tibetan Autonomous Region. The Tibetan Autonomous Region is essentially the area of Tibet within the People's Republic of China. It is the second largest and the least densely populated provincial level division of China. I will just show you a map of China's population density that will actually sort of elaborate what we're talking about here. Now this is China's population density map. As you can see, most of the population lives on the eastern side of the country and not a lot of people live in the Tibetan Autonomous Region. So in order to change this, the CPEC, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, will be a game changer, as once this entire western region is industrialized, then China hopes that more people from the eastern part of China will migrate to the western part of China. In 1966, Mao Zedong's Cultural Revolution reached Tibet, and it resulted in the destruction of a large number of monasteries and cultural artifacts. A socio-political movement set into motion by Mao Zedong, the Cultural Revolution's stated goal was to preserve communist ideology in the country by purging remnants of capitalist and traditional elements and to reimpose Maoist thought as the dominant ideology. The movement paralyzed China politically and negatively affected the country's economy and society to a significant degree. This badly affected Tibet as well, where resentment against Chinese remained high. The years of the Cultural Revolution inflicted heavy casualties on Tibet. During the 10 years of the Cultural Revolution, which started in 1966 and it lasted till 1976, 1.2 million Tibetans were worked, starved, or beaten to death. Parents were forced to bury their children alive for any act of disobedience. Dissidents were doused in excrement and urine and set alight or had their nose or an ear cut off. The Cultural Revolution was one of the bloodiest chapters in world history, let alone Chinese history, and cemented a blood-stained divide between the Tibetan people and the Chinese people. Later on in 1987, the 14th Dalai Lama called for the establishment of Tibet as a zone of peace and continued to seek dialogue with China, with the aim of achieving genuine self-rule for Tibet within China. But that time, independence of Tibet wasn't exactly something that they were pursuing. But a year after, China imposed martial law after riots broke out in Tibet. Again, it was the same story. People were raising their voice against the government. After that, in 1989, the 14th Dalai Lama was awarded the Nobel Prize for Peace. In 1993, talks between China and the Dalai Lama finally broke down. Now let's talk about a very important point over here. The Dalai Lama and the Panchen Lama. The Dalai Lama is essentially the political and spiritual leader of the Tibetan people. Dalai Lama is also an important figure beyond sectarian boundaries. He is a symbol of the unification of the state of Tibet and is an international advocate for Buddhist values, Tibetan Buddhist values, of course. The next most important figure in the Tibetan Buddhism is the Panchen Lama. So the topmost is the Dalai Lama, and after him the Panchen Lama. The Dalai Lama is traditionally involved in recognizing the Panchen Lama. So the Dalai Lama decides where the next Panchen Lama will be born. Not decide, he predicts where the next Panchen Lama will be born. And the Panchen Lama is a part of the process by which the new Dalai Lama is chosen. The 14th Dalai Lama is a current Tibetan leader in the line that stretches back to the 1300s. He is one of the most recognized faces in the world and also a recipient of the Nobel Prize, as we just talked about. Now this is where things get a bit complicated. After the death of the 10th Panchen Lama, Gedun Nyamia, forgive me for my bad pronunciation, was announced by the 14th Dalai Lama as the 11th Panchen Lama, because as I just told you, the Dalai Lama decides who will be the next Panchen Lama. So there was a boy in Tibet and the Dalai Lama decided that that boy will be the next Panchen Lama. However, only 3 days after the announcement, Chinese authorities kidnapped the 6-year-old child and his family and instead installed another boy, Gyanchian Norbu, in his place as the 11th Panchen Lama. Gedun Nyamia, the original 11th Panchen Lama, has not been seen in public since 17 May 1995. Now this move to kidnap a 6-year-old boy for political reasons was condemned by the United Nations, the Dalai Lama, the Tibetan people, and of course various human rights groups around the world. The Dalai Lama designated 6-year-old boy has not been seen since 1995. Tibetan exiles lament that he is the world's youngest political prisoner. That is, if he is still alive. So there is also a sad possibility that he might be dead as well. Now, here is the problem here. Look, the Chinese government is doing all this to gain control over the Tibetan people's spiritual beliefs, because once they plant a Dalai Lama that is pro-China, then they won't have any problem in Tibet and the Tibetan freedom movement will die. And the current Dalai Lama, the 14th Dalai Lama, is already 81 years old. And it is the reality of life that eventually, as a human being ages, he does have the possibility of dying, as we all do. So now a lot of people, a lot of Tibetan exiles, they are worrying about the fact that what if the 8th Lama dies and the planted Panchen Lama in Tibet, the one who has been planted by the Chinese government, he takes part in the process to choose the next Dalai Lama, and the next Dalai Lama is pro-China, then that is it. Tibet is gone. They can't do anything. So this is a very crucial aspect of the whole conflict between China and Tibet. Now let's talk about the human rights violations in Tibet. Tibet has internationally been recognized as one of the most unstable regions in the world, constantly featuring among the top targets of human rights violations. Tibet was invaded by 35,000 Chinese troops who systematically raped, tortured and murdered an estimated around 10 lakh Tibetans, 1.2 million. 1/5 of the country's population, at that time of course, not now. Since then, over 6,000 monasteries have been destroyed and thousands of Tibetans have been imprisoned. According to different sources, it is estimated that up to 260,000 people died in prisons and labor camps between 1950 to 1984. 34% of Tibetans in farming and pastoral areas of Tibet are still stuck below poverty line. What is more, the region accounts for the highest poverty rate in China. It is estimated that there are up to 20 million Chinese citizens working in prison camps. Hundreds of Tibetans have set themselves on fire to protest Chinese rule since 2009, with more than 100 dying from their injuries. The numbers are murky due to the absence of official records and the suppression of free press in communist China. However, reliable records show that between 1949 and 1997, the following atrocities occurred. 1,73,221 Tibetans died after being tortured in prison. 1,56,758 Tibetans were executed by the Chinese. Now, this is appalling. I mean, 4,32,705 Tibetans were killed while fighting the Chinese occupation. 3,42,970 Tibetans have been starved to death. That's just horrible. And 92,731 Tibetans were publicly tortured to death. Now you get the idea of the human rights violations in Tibet and why so many Tibetans cry for their homeland. Other than that, in Tibet today, there is no freedom of speech, religion. The state is hellbent on promoting atheism. They try to eradicate Buddhist thought. Other than that, in Tibet, forced abortion is a reality. Sterilization of Tibetan women so that their population decreases, and the transfer of low-income Chinese citizens from the eastern part to the western part. So all these things have been done to slowly suppress the Tibetan people, and it's absolutely horrible. Finally, I think being Indians, we have the responsibility to help the Tibetans in their cause, and I would request you to share videos that promote the idea of a free Tibet and that videos that expose the Chinese atrocities. Videos like this one, perhaps, if you can share it, then it would be beneficial for the Tibetan cause. So please do share this video. Hopefully, in the future, we will see a free Tibet, or at least we will see the Chinese government being held accountable for their atrocities.